Parashas Vayishlach, we have the struggle of Yaakov and Esav, Yaakov getting ready to battle Esav, and as known, the many of the things that are written about in the parasha are meant to be instructions to how to deal with enemies and so on. So the Ramban makes a point of it, and I want to speak it out. Now, the Ramban says it's the point of the parasha is, first of all, to tell us HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there for us. He protects us and he saves us. Okay, that's obvious. Then he says, Ulamdeinu Oida teaches us that Yaakov did not rely on his sitkis, but he tried, he did ishtadlus apider hateva. Now, this is something that could be, it's an extraordinary lesson. One could have said, well, first of all, Yaakov could rely on it, and where's his bitachon? It says he prepared himself for Doron, Tefillah Doron, and Milchama. So those are all inyanim that are, the Doron and Milchama are certainly derech hateva, certainly natural cause and effect. And tefillah also, it didn't say that he only does tefillah and he has bitachon. Despite having bitachon, which is for midah, but what we're obligated to is do things up b'derech hateva. Just like, for instance, somebody lapses in front of us, we rush and get the oxygen and is whatever else they do, the CPR, whatever whatever's needed, and we don't rely on bitachon. We definitely understand that without a Kadosh Baruch Hu's help, nothing will happen. But bitachon is not replacing that. We have an obligation. So he says over here we have three things. We have Deiren, Lacham, and Tefillah. I want to talk about that. Um, the people become very caught up with a shita about how to deal with adversaries. We have enemies coming. Well, one train of thought is fight. Fight as hard you can. Don't give, don't budge. Don't you dare appease them. And then there's a second way of bribing, appeasing. It's not very, very dignified, but it gets the job done, if it does, with very little bloodshed. So he says, "V'roilon alechayil b'dakshal tzad shenazmatzim l'shleisha dvarim sheizmenhu l'tfila l'deiron u'latzala b'derech milchama." So he adds over here, as far as the milchama part goes, he says, "Livroach holi notzel," to run away. He is either the censor, is not terribly happy to the censorship of milchama. Rabbi Bechaya actually quotes Ramban, and he says that for us it means, doing things like running away and stuff like that. So the one thing that we see over here is there are no shitas involved, such as it is cowardly to pay off your enemies. It is cowardly to sort of grovel at their feet and yeah, whatever you'd like, and please, and you're so wonderful, so great. And a man, a he-man should fight, he should be tough and so on. But that's not what happened by Yaakov. And the Ramban says we have to sit and consider all the possibilities. Now, considering possibilities means we have to ask ourselves, what are the chances that fight could work or running away? What are the chances that bribery would work? And so on. We have to take out of consideration any type of ideology and so on. I want to reference something, um, which it's fascinating. I once heard this from actually a very left-wing professor. Um, in at the time of the Churban Beis Hamikdash, Rabbi Yochanan was stuck in Yerushalayim with Sikrikim, and the Sikrikim didn't want any appeasement with the Romans. They wanted to fight till the end. And Rabbi Ahron felt it's not going to work. It's they're hopelessly outnumbered. There's no Satan Shmaya. Akash Baruch Hu won't help them, and so on. So he snuck out. Famous story in Gittin. I won't repeat it here. Snuck out, made peace with Vespasian, and was able to save a few items, not the city, but a few items. Yad Nechachameho and Sholos of Rabbi Gamliel and so on. Now, the we see clearly that in that case, they asked why didn't they fight, and everyone said it wouldn't work. That was his fight with the Beryoni. Beryoni wanted to only fight, and he said, no, it's not going to work. In other words, the course of action that we ought to take whenever there's some adversary or something like that is not a shita, but a calculation as to what will work best and has the best chance of succeeding. And the Ramah says we have to prepare ourselves for all of them. So we need not to be afraid to fight or to run if that's what's needed, like the Ramban says, or to bribe and to sort of make ourselves humble and do what it takes. There is no fixed ideological hanhaga that the Torah points to. The Torah says just whatever it takes, and that's that. So first of all, that's important. Like Ramban says, this is a lesson we should take with us. The minig used to be that when people used to go to when they had a dealing and took a trip to go to see the Geisha Malchus, they would say Pash Vayishlach and so on. That's obviously important. But there's more here in terms of teaching us that there is no one particular action that's become sacred. We will fight to the last and not give a nickel for shochat, or vice versa. You have to figure out what are the better chances to and go with that. Now, the tefillah piece over here is very interesting because it's put on par with the other two, meaning it's meant to be part of the package and not a replacement. Fighting does not replace tefillah. Tefillah does not replace fighting. Same thing is true with bribery. Understanding that tefillah is something which is meant to integrate itself, weave itself into the fabric of hishtadlus and mitzias. Now, that's really the essence of tefillah. Tefillah means we have our normal lives, our physical, deal with physical realities, and we sort of live in that world of physical cause and effect. Tefillah is supposed to take us out and say, it's true that these are the pieces that were falling, but it's coming from someplace else. That's what tefillah is all about. So tefillah over here that we're talking about is not replacing the doing things. It's part of the equation. And depending on what's the most effective, that's what you do. And he says Lamedna oichu loy botak b'tzit kosoi means we have to do what we can in terms of Isaiah Tshuva and so on. We never can rely on our tzidkis and say, well, I have so much schar, For sure this will happen. We don't know. We don't know what HaKadosh bonus. Shem Yigur Machet. We don't know. So briefly, let's just Chazal Ramban. Ramban here says that the actions of Yaakov Avinu vis-a-vis Esav's are the blueprint for every future interaction with the forces that seek to destroy us. They require a three-pronged approach of tefillah and doron and milchama, which means there is no fixed physical way to deal with it. We choose what will be most effective with the least losses. And sometimes it's fighting, and sometimes it's making peace, even if it is not on the terms we would have wanted. But Doron is part of it. The tefillah that we have over here, the Doron of tefillah, is something which is not replacing any type of physical activity and so on, but rather it's adding to it. It's one of the three things. It's tefillah and doron and milchama. So the tefillah is part of the process. Its job is actually to help us realize that it's not the physical activities, but something higher than that did it, but never does replace it. A Klal Yisrael who follows in the path of Yaakov is preparing itself with Doron, with Tefillah, and with Milchama.